version of what Shane Beamer said last week, where Mike Furrey's like, yeah, we didn't make many changes. We shored up a few things here, did some things to protect us there, but by and large, it's the same, where it felt like Shane Beamer was like, yeah, there's been some massive tweaks to the playbook.
Yeah, I don't know what to believe at this point.
It's like reading social media, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I'm getting it out of both sides here.
So we'll get into that today. We'll talk. The fact that we got to hear from him, and we'll have Chance Miller on at 1:15 today. Chance Miller, Coastal Carolina Athletic Director, he'll join us. Brad Crawford of CBS Sports will join us at 2:15 as we try to again. I think Tyler's in step with me on this. Try to get some other people's opinion nationally, players locally that we've talked to, their opinion of what's going on. But we'll get Chance's, the guy who created the free concessions for Coastal.
That's right. Also, the Halloween uniforms a couple weeks ago against Marshall that our own Mike Yuva got to be on SportsCenter to show off a few weeks back.
So, yeah, we'll catch up with him. But we'll talk a lot about this Mike Furrey because I don't want to call this game irrelevant. When you're 3-7, you don't want to be 3-8 and lose. Like, for those of you that are like, this game doesn't matter.
It matters. It can always get worse.
10 years ago, we lost. I was there to Citadel, and in 2015, I was sat there with my kids. I had to sit there with my kids. Austin was 3-ish, something in that ballpark. I don't think he has the memory of it, and that's a good thing. I think he was there.
It's really funny, and I've been here for almost exactly 3 years now. I came in December of 2022. There are certain games in the history of South Carolina football that everybody has a collective shared experience with that I wasn't here for, but everybody talks about to some degree. You have like the 84 game against Navy. Everybody talks about the 84 game against Navy and the implications that had on what South Carolina's season could have been. The 2015 Citadel game is another one of those where if you just say the Citadel game, everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. And unfortunately, like the Navy game, is a shared experience in an even worse way because that was kind of the definition of where the program was at that point in time, unfortunately, after the fallout of Spurrier and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was the end. It was a chilly day at Williams-Brice Stadium. The Gamecocks were cruising to a 3-9 season. There's a lot of people to look back on that Citadel game. And I'll just say this. If you want to correlate, and I didn't think about this until I brought it up, until we just started talking about it. Now, I don't think Shane Beamer is in that much stage. I would, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would have it at like a 6. Slightly above a 5, but we're not in the danger zone. You go to 7,
yeah,
that's where the red light starts blinking a little bit,
sure,
and you start getting a little bit of an alarm. I don't think he's there yet, but I also don't think when you're above a 5, you necessarily feel like last year he was at a 2.
Yeah, no, nobody is comfortable going into this game to any degree. Now, yes, again, his seat's not scorching hot by any means, but this goes sideways enough, and you lose to Clemson as well, then there's nothing off the table, and we'll get into some specifics about Coastal later. I think Carolina should be fine. Nothing's impossible, and anybody can win on any given Saturday. That's how the game of football is. If you don't shoot yourself in the foot a lot, I think you should be fine Saturday.
Also, it should be noted, at least as of an interview yesterday with Tim Beck, it appears the Coastal Carolina starting quarterback will be out for the game on Saturday. So we'll talk more about that as well. Maybe not so much with Chance Miller. There are other things to get to with him. But let me go back because, Tyler, you mentioned it. You weren't here. There is a strong belief. Now, in 2015, South Carolina was getting just blitzed by people. Georgia hammered them. LSU down there just took them to the woodshed. One of the ugliest football games I've ever seen came against Central Florida. All of it was just extremely ugly.
Yeah.
And Sean Elliott took over, and they beat Vanderbilt. Remember when we had that streak and that was nice?
Yeah.
They beat Vanderbilt. I believe it was the next week. I can't remember the weeks exactly. I don't have the schedule in front of me. But I think it was the next week they went to Texas A&M. I think it was the next week they went to Tennessee. No, they went to Texas A&M first. Texas A&M was a Halloween game. Kyler Murray got to start. And they lost 35-28. And they were in the game. They were extremely competitive, and they were in the game. And G.A. Mangus, a lot of people say Mangus was calling the plays. Sean Elliott was doing stuff. And they were very much in the game. And it was kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
this is improvement. Hey, okay. The following week, they go to Tennessee. They have a bad first half. They're coming back in the second half. They throw a pass over the middle to Jarrell Cook with about a minute and a half left. He catches it, and he's either going to get knocked down inside the 10 or he's going to score and probably win the game, and he gets hit just outside of the 10 and fumbles. Tennessee pounces on it. Tennessee wins a very close one in that year. And then you play, I believe then you played Florida. And the Florida, when everybody was kind of fired up, everybody knew that South Carolina seemed to be playing better. I will say the funny part of that game was nobody knew any. This is 2015 before Twitter, and everything was really taking off, and the whole uniform reveals were not quite like they were there. I might have been in the minority on this. South Carolina wore different helmets that game, kind of like a tail feather.
Yeah, I've seen it. It was the white helmet, had the garnet.
It took me
the feathers coming off the face mask.
took me two quarters to figure it out, and I was in the stadium.
Oh, you couldn't tell what it was. Okay.
No, I didn't even know it was a new helmet. It was just like
I see. Okay.
It was crazy, and all of a sudden, I think somebody next to me was like, "Wait, that doesn't look like our helmet." And I started looking, and then you looked on the big board, but South Carolina was fairly competitive with Florida that week. And at that point in time, they lost 24-14. So they lost to A&M 35-28. They lost to Tennessee 27-24. They lost to Florida 24-14. And even though you had lost those three that year,
Yep.
it was one of the things, Tyler, where people looked around. Sean Elliott's running the team, and a lot of people were kind of going, they're playing better.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're coming off of those really good seasons. And we're coming off the really, really good seasons, and people kind of go, maybe that's really all we needed was a change in voice. Maybe Sean Elliott's the guy. And there was a lot of people that were starting to get on the Sean Elliott bandwagon. Now, also at the time, Tom Herman's name was being mentioned extremely. Him and Kirby Smart.
Yep.
Those were
I
the two
remember.
names. Those are the two prominent names at that point, too. But Sean Elliott was kind of like, hey, if Kirby doesn't work out, and supposedly the story will always go that Kirby was coming until Georgia pulled the power move with
Which
Mark
is why they made the move when they did, because they knew it was kind of now or never.
Tom Herman, if you've been a game, because this is one of those urban legend, was he taking the job? Was he not taking the job? Was he using South Carolina as leverage for the Texas job? Whatever. But there was starting to be a run-up for Sean Elliott that, okay, if those two guys aren't the coach, Sean Elliott might be a really good candidate.
Sure.
And when he lost to Citadel,
All went out the window.
everybody went, no.
Yeah. Losing to any FCS team is usually going to end any kind of hope you have for being the next head coach. It's funny, hindsight being 2020. I actually wanted Tom Herman to take the Georgia job over Kirby Smart.
Oh, really?
I was one of those people that was like, this Herman guy was doing on offense what he done at Ohio State, when he did at Houston. I thought he was going to be the answer at Georgia. I was obviously wrong, and it ended up working out pretty well. But I was in the camp of Tom Herman over Kirby Smart at the time.
All right.
Now, I didn't mind when they hired Kirby Smart, and obviously it worked out. But if I had my choice, I was going Tom Herman.
Tom Herman was a extremely popular name and was a guy that people wanted. Again, a lot of speculation. There's also a wild rumor that Spurrier, when he tried to step down in 2014 after the Clemson game, that Ray Tanner's number one choice was Ohio State offensive coordinator, Tom Herman.
Yep.
And whether any of that's factual or not, or just hearsay, urban legend, I don't know. But I say all that because right now we assume things are at a 6.
Yes, for now.
No blinking lights, no alarms just yet. You lose this game, you jump to, I think, about an 8 or 9.
Probably.
Especially when you're a 3-touchdown favorite.
If you coupled that with a ugly loss to Clemson, and you're 3-9, then yes, there's nothing off the table at that point in time. But for now, it's 6. I think that's pretty safe to say.
So we will get into. So I say all that because the game's not irrelevant, but I'm really interested to hear what Mike Furrey has to say. And he gets into a lot of stuff. He'll talk about the 2 different halves. He talks about getting the offensive coordinator duties. Now, you noticed something. He talked about getting the OC duties, but you noticed something on their little live stream yesterday that caught your attention.
Yeah, and I believe, I guess this was maybe part of his title anyway, as passing game coordinator, because that's what he was listed as.
Right.
So I guess his official title before being the OC was wide receivers coach / passing game coordinator, but that's the only thing they put him down as on live stream. Again, is that a big deal? Probably not. I just thought it was interesting. Like, oh, well, he's technically the OC, or at least interim OC. Why wouldn't they refer to him that way? But it's something I noticed.
Yeah. But we'll let you listen to a lot from him. Clayton White also talked yesterday. He also talked about his fight with Shane Beamer. So apparently we've got this covered from all sides right now. But we'll get into all of that. 803-404-6100. Let's give a shout-out to Jacob.
All right. What was shouting out?
Well, this is a while back. It didn't happen today. But he said, I got my acceptance letter to USC in the mail the day we lost to Citadel.
Oh.
Which is probably the most Gamecock thing ever. So, one, congratulations. You got your acceptance letter, and you celebrated by, yeah. Donald says, please, don't talk about the Citadel game. I was in college. It's brutal.
See, everybody has this shared traumatic experience with it.
And it doesn't help that Pharaoh called a touchdown pass at the very end that looked like it saved us. And that was one of those situations where it looked like it saved South Carolina. We were like, just win.
Yeah.
Don't lose to the Citadel. Fine.
We'll discuss how we got here, but just find a way to win.
Yeah, just okay. It'll be 28-25 or 29, whatever it would have been. And it all came crashing back. But anyway, we won't dwell on that. But it is sometimes fun, unfortunately, to go down that memory lane. 803-404-6100. All right. Chance Miller with Coastal Carolina Athletic Director coming up at 1:15. Brad Crawford at 2:15. We'll get into a lot of other topics when we come back. Several things from Mike Furrey. We're going to listen to a long cut, though, about 3 minutes. And it is Mike Furrey talking about something that I think is really interesting. Lenora Sellers getting his confidence back, and we'll discuss that. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner. He is Captain David Dare. Captain Dave, do you want to on air share the story you were starting to share with me before you went all before we came on?
If you want,
give them the title of the story.
My whole life, my failed relationships are all down to a woman who just died today.
Oh God,
a famous actress.
Oh jeez,
it's her fault.
All right. I didn't know we were going to get to there. 803-404-6100. We'll continue on. It's the halftime show. 1:21 on a Thursday. This will be a little bit more of a Friday show because, reminder, tomorrow, Tyler and I will go from noon to about 1:30, and we will have our usual lineup of Brian Edwards, Brad Crawford's today, of Brian Edwards and Chris Deering. We'll have our usual lineup tomorrow on those guys. So that'll be tomorrow. So today, we're going to have Brad Crawford at 2:15. We're going to have Chance Miller at 1:15, but we're going to do a little bit more of a Friday stuff where we get into a little bit more of the big picture college football breakdown and all the things taking place this coming weekend, what may or may not be an upset, so forth and so on. Tomorrow will also be maybe a little more basketball heavy with a pregame, kind of our own pregame, because that's going to be a fun one. Butler in South Carolina tomorrow up at the Greenbrier tip-off at 2 o'clock. And, again, we'll have that for you right here on 107.5 The Game. I can only speak for myself. We do this show based on what we think, right?
Sure.
We don't go out and poll you, the listener, and go, what do you want to talk about? Big question is, where do we stand with Lenoris Sellers and his confidence? And my question to you athletes out there and you business people, can you regain confidence in a week or two? What is confidence? How quickly does it take to gain confidence and believe back in yourself?
I guess it depends on what you're doing. And look, I've never been a starting quarterback in the SEC, so I don't know if that's going to be something that takes a longer process, but I'd say going out there and doing something well of probably a few times in a row can reinstill that confidence, because once you can say, okay, maybe I got lucky that day, or, just things kind of fell my way. But if you start doing things over and over again consistently well, I think that's where your confidence typically seems to come back.
Okay. So yesterday, Mike Furrey, he gave us 3 minutes, so kind of sit down and prepare yourself. But we want to talk about this. This is Mike Furrey going over what he thinks he has to do, they have to do, everybody has to do to get Lenoris Sellers' confidence back. And also, by the way, it's just interesting that he addresses, hey, we don't think Lenoris Sellers has his usual confidence. Here's Mike Furrey yesterday in the coordinator press conference.
Yeah, it's when you're a position coach, it's not your job it's your job to continue to love the kids around and the guys on the offense, defense, the whole team. That's your job, right? Still be integrated and have relationships with everybody, but it's not your job to coach anybody outside your room. And so we never really had those conversations leading up until last week. And Lenoris is a young man who is, if he doesn't trust you, there's not a lot of words that come out, right? Which is fine. That's great. He's guarded and he's locked in. He's doing his job. When he trusts you because of conversations, or now he starts believing, and he believes in what you're saying, believes in what you're communicating, or what he sees and you see, and there's some dialogue. Now all of a sudden there's some communication. That conversation gets a lot bigger. And I think that's been the biggest thing over the last 2 weeks with Lenoris and I, has been able to communicate on the phone when he's away from the building, and what do you like, and what's. And also, I told him too, now listen, this isn't going to be like, hey, we're going to do everything you want. Like, you're still a young kid in college that still needs to learn and develop as a player. So, there's going to be things that you might like, but there's going to be things I'm going to tell you that this is not what we do successful, so we need to do this. And, I think there was a relationship that we started building of, okay, I see that, and hey, I'm not going to be able to get away with everything, and this is what we're going to do to help the team. And so I think that relationship grew a lot over the last 2 weeks and all the way into today at practice. I thought today at practice and this morning he spoke to our wideouts about some plays that he wants to get done and what's he demanding. And I think those are all steps for him from a leadership role that we're pushing him to become. Right. And I know it's a short period, but I think when you're the leader of this football program, which quarterbacks are, right, that they instantly have to be the leader, then everybody around you has to believe in what you're saying or believe in what your actions are preaching. And so we're working on that as well, not just throwing the ball, not just reading keys. It's a full development thing that I think has definitely expanded over the last 2 weeks. And I've had fun with it because I've just gotten the whole, a couple of words here and there, and, we go paintball and do some stuff like that, but it's still not a, hey, we need to do this or you need to do that from a mechanic standpoint. It's just, a relationship and a respectful relationship. but it's been a lot of fun. He's been very, very receptive. I think some of the throws that he threw in that game at A&M, I think the throw to his brother in the first half on a third and long, staying in that pocket, throwing the corner route to Pup. I think the ball he actually threw to Harbor at the end of the game, standing in that pocket and throwing that thing on time. Those are things that he has continued to get better at. And one of it's, trusting the guys up front, trusting what's being called, and executing. And so those will be things that we'll continue to work on here as we finish out these next 2 weeks. And we're not going to put we're not going to take our foot off him at all, or any of these guys. And our job is to continue to develop them and get them ready and prepared and get them to play as best they can play on Saturday.
Start with you. What do you take away from all that?
I take
Anything.
Again, the acknowledgement that the competence isn't where it needs to be, which again I think we all see. And it looked like in that first half it was there, right? And what happened in the second half, among everything else that went wrong, was clearly a reason why South Carolina lost that game. But it's the acknowledgement that something needs to be built back up, right? And look, I don't think Mike Furrey is going to be the one that's going to be tasked with doing that as the offensive coordinator going into next year. But whoever comes in, you've got work to do, right? Because what Shula was supposed to be doing and building him up instead tore him down to a degree, and he's got to be something that's got to be rehabbed back to the point of where he was this time a year ago, playing some of the best football we've seen out of quarterback in South Carolina in quite some time. So acknowledging that it is an issue to some degree, I think is kind of step one in that process.
Yeah, I'm interested with Mike Furrey, and again, different personalities. And can a different personality, in talking with people, I can't say I knew Dow Loggins' personality. I would probably lean toward Dow Loggins' personality being more toward Mike Shula than Mike Furrey, because I see Mike Furrey's tweets and they have 37 emojis and a lot of exclamation points and there's a lot of caps. But I say that also because in talking with people down there, Dow Loggins was pretty intense. I just don't think we saw it in the press conferences. I can tell you there was a particular coach who worked with Dow Loggins who didn't dislike him, but Loggins was pretty meticulous, and when things weren't going right, you didn't want to be around Dow Loggins. Okay. He would kind of let you know as a coach, and I assume that might have translated over to players. Loggins, so I say that it feels like because of what we would see in press conferences, you'd go, well, Loggins is more Shula. The impression I got is Loggins on the practice field and in the office where the public eye was not. Don't get on his bad side. Yeah. Don't do your job. Whereas I don't know how Mike Shula really, Mike Shula was upset, was like, hey man, really got to do better.
Yeah, go get the dump off my desk. Yeah, that was your punishment.
Yeah. There's poop on your day. Yeah. So I don't know, but I think that is something this weekend. Can you use this game? Because let's be honest, the first half of that A&M game was a springboard.
Yeah, it looked great.
Second half was not.
No.
Can you use the first half of this game as a springboard to the Clemson game? 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. We'll get back into a little more Dow Loggins when we come back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 12:35 on your Thursday. Reminder tonight, we will hear from Shane Beamer. You think we hear again on the fight? He seems to take pleasure in that.
Yeah, he talked about it. Clayton's talked about it.
Yeah, we'll hear from Clayton coming up in the next hour.
I don't know. Is Shane one of those guys that's going to beat something to death?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it may come up at some point tonight. Then.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think he's the kind of guy that like tells the same joke over and over to his kids, to where they're just like, "Dad, that's the 8,000th time we've heard that joke. It's not funny anymore."
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the usual Friday morning. It actually strikes me. I've got to kind of laugh. He actually strikes me as the guy, and he said this. He's talking about being superstitious and they go to the restaurants.
Sure.
That if they're winning, he tells the same joke on Friday morning.
Yeah.
But if he's losing, he's got to get a new joke.
Probably so.
That I can see.
I could see it.
We're still kind of learning, and it's late in the season, and I think we care, but I'm not sure. But let's listen. This is Mike Furrey yesterday talking about his responsibilities as offense coordinator. We kind of talked about it. How much is Sean Elliott involved? You mentioned it. Mike Furrey's the pass game coordinator. Is he calling everything? We'll come back and play that 4th and 1 clip he's got on here in a little while. But listen to Mike Furrey yesterday again as he talks about his responsibilities as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to Jordan's question too. It's again building those relationships now in a different manner from a leadership role throughout the week, right? Under them understanding why we're calling things, or hey, we missed this, and hey, we're just off. And we sat here on Sunday after the game, and we went through basically the entire second half, and everybody collectively basically said this was us. Like, it was nothing that A&M did. It was everything was us. And so that's one, you have to understand that, and you got to understand that we are capable of doing these things, and then you continue to build those leaders in those individual rooms so that you can get them all on the headset, during the drive and say, hey, 16, hey, go grab such and such, and let's get these guys together. Go rally these guys up. Look at the iPad. Hey, well, this is what we need to do, or this is our adjustment. Let's get these guys going, and then we huddle that thing up before we take that field. Everybody's in agreement that we're going out and going to work, and let's just execute and stay a little bit more fine-tuned on the details. And so that's just, we got to build that during the week. I think Coach Elliott and Coach Blackwell do a phenomenal job of that. We all know Coach Elliott a lot longer than Coach Blackwell, and his energy and his leadership is a bigger role now too. He's taken on a different ownership with the tight ends and O-line, and now us kind of being separated, me being upstairs and him at the downstairs, him being able to collect all those guys. But we still need to build those leaders, right, that can get those guys together and are comfortable saying, hey, let's go to work. Let's clean this up. Hey, did you see that? Let's fix that. Hey, we're this close. Let's get this next drive. Hey, let's go get one score here, right here, and put the game away. That's all part of growth. And I do see that, and I felt it, and I've seen more of it this week in practice, and I think that's definitely heading in the right direction.
I'll ask again, what do you make of those comments?
I think it's kind of in line with what we kind of thought he was doing as the offensive coordinator, and Beamer said as much last week when it became official that he was going to be doing the play calling. Like, hey, it's still a collaborative effort. You're still obviously focusing on development, still working with the wide receivers a lot. So wasn't really surprised by anything I heard there necessarily, because it kind of sounds like what we expected his role to be in this interim OC.
Let me ask you something, and this is kind of changing subject just a tad, and I want to put it out there to y'all. 803-404-6100. You can text or call in. We do have Chance Miller coming up here in about 35 minutes at 1:15. It feels like to me, whomever the next offensive coordinator is, Mike Furrey and Sean Elliott are safe.
I think so.
I think so. That's what I'm saying. It feels like to me. Is that do we feel that way, or does Shane Beamer go, no, whomever, you have full control and run? Like, I just don't see us in there. Now, you need a tight ends coach. I'm under the assumption that the offense coordinator is going to be the quarterback's coach, and obviously, I just don't. Marquell Blackwell has a history of bouncing around to begin with. And he's the one guy who just doesn't have that connection, I feel,
Sure.
to everybody else. So I'm not saying that he's not safe. I'm not saying that he's out the door. I can see that changing a little bit. But if we talk about drastic changes, you got to do this, you got to do that, does that open the door? Like, I'm really interested in this. 803-404-6100. Is Mike Furrey, who I think's done a good job, by the way. By the way, I like him as a wide receiver coach. I would be disappointed to see him go. I would like to give Sean Elliott the offensive line for a year. And I think the way Sean Elliott does things, Tyler, meshes with the offense that we all want.
Yeah.
And probably what I'm going to assume Shane Beamer is going to try and go to next. But are they on the chopping block as well?
I lean towards no, and I feel as though when you're, and we don't know the names of who they're specifically looking at right now, I think you can present this job as, hey, the rest of the staff's already in place. We just need you to be plugged in to call the plays. I feel like that's probably how this goes. Now, look, if there's just somebody that's so high level and so good, and the only way they're going to come here is if you allow them to bring in their own guys or make changes to the staff, then you might have to put your hands up and say, okay, fine, that's fine. And who that person would be, I don't know. Would they want to do that? I don't know. But I feel like you probably approach it saying, hey, because, again, this is the same staff that was here for a team that was a playoff bubble team a year ago. You know, the only exception or only change was obviously Lonnie Teasley's the offensive line coach and Mike Shula calling plays. So everything else pretty much stayed intact. So it's like, hey, we know this is a good staff of assistants. We just need a good play caller. That's you, and we're just going to plug you in here. I don't think that really many other assistant changes are going to be made in the offseason outside of people wanting to leave and go somewhere else and having to fill that role. Well, yeah, you got to hire a tight ends coach, assuming Sean Elliott stays at the offensive line. But I think for the most part, the firing's done, to me at least.
Okay. All right. Again, I kind of lean to Markwell Blackwell might be the guy who's a little bit on the chopping block, but yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see. 803-404-6100. We'll wrap up the Mike Furrey conversation here. This is Mike Furrey talking about the situation on 4th and 1. The one that everybody says 4th and 12 changed the game. I get it. The 4th and 1 to me was the death blow, and it was early. Here's Mike Furrey talking about the 4th and 1 play in the third quarter. 6.
I think was just the icing on the cake of the turning point of the game. I think there was some moments. I think the guys started feeling a little bit. This was my decision last week. Do I go in the box? We had talked about it. Do I go in the box or do I stay on the field? And one of the things is when you don't stay on the field, it's hard to vocalize, motivate, gather, encourage, collaborate, and all those things collectively. And that's hard to do when you're not there. And that's just something that I pride myself on in regards to making sure, hey, settling guys down, and this is what we got to do. And so I think the lack of execution started that build already. And then getting the ball back so fast sometimes, and then all of a sudden doing it again with just some of that lack of execution. And I think there was some disappointment in there too. You know, there was some guys, we had some opportunities where guys were open and we just missed them or we didn't get to it, for whatever reason. And so I think that was just a collective of things that were just keep adding on. And then the 4th and 1 obviously was kind of like the icing on it. And it's a learning lesson. It's a hard learning lesson to learn. And we'll be better from it. But trust me, there's nobody in that stadium that wanted that 4th and 1 or the 3rd and 2 or the 2nd and 1 more than anybody for these kids than our staff. And so we just got to do better and put our guys in a better situation to handle that. And we'll do that moving forward.
We assume he's talking about the opening drive for South Carolina the second half, right?
Yeah, that's what I assumed we're talking about.
All right.
Yeah.
Because we'll come back and address that and wrap up the hour and finish up the offensive coordinator Mike Furrey discussion. We'll get to some Clayton White in the next hour. And, of course, Chance Miller joins us from Coastal Carolina. You're listening to the Halftime Show. So a lot of that, the conversation, finally really getting to hear from interim offensive coordinator, passing game coordinator, whatever, Mike Furrey yesterday, and we played a couple clips there, Tyler. Yeah, how do we kind of assess everything we just what's our big picture takeaway on all that?
Of everything that we've heard from Mike Furrey, I do appreciate the accountability, right? And that's something I've said so far this morning, where I feel like when we heard from Shula during the week, even in some of those really bad games, like, hey, Mike, what went wrong? Or in this situation, that situation went wrong. It was kind of a hodgepodge of things thrown out there, if anything, to throw us off the trail that didn't really tell us anything. Because, again, when things are going wrong, you're looking for answers. And I feel like Shula never gave us answers on things, where Furrey yesterday was honest about things, saying, hey, we could have done this, could have done that, maybe been better in this situation or that situation. Now, at the end of the day, saying it and doing it are two different things, obviously. But I did appreciate what I felt like was a lot more honesty from the OC that, unfortunately, we just haven't had a lot this year.
For those that care, and I say that because I know a lot of you now, you're going to hit a pumpkin patch. I think David Montz on Twitter hit me up yesterday and said, I think it was David, and David, if it wasn't you, I totally apologize. But you said, I think he said he was going to a fall wedding.
Oh.
So I don't.
Just tell them they're lucky it's a 3-7 season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, is there something that you look for on Saturday, or have you written this off so far? I'm going to get to these text messages. I see y'all, David, Leonard, a couple others on the other question I asked, and I'll read those in just a minute. But is there something that, and I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to ask you, is there something you see where you go, yeah, Mike Furrey's the guy, or, but I'm just, because we're all under the impression that whatever happens in the last two games, there's going to be changes, right?
Sure, yeah. I don't think Furrey's going to end up being the OC. And, again, they could go out there and score 50 points this weekend and 50 points next weekend. I still think Beamer can't risk staying in-house 2 times in a row. And, look, the Shula thing made sense a year ago, right? You had good production out of Dow Loggins in the last half of the year. He seemed to have unlocked Lenore Sellers at his best. He moves on to become a head coach, which I don't think any of us saw coming when it happened. It's like, okay, well, we want to keep the ball rolling. How about we just roll with the guy that's already been here, that we had credited for Sellers getting to the point where he was at a season ago. Experience, resume looks good. All right, let's do it. Didn't work out, obviously. I just don't think if you're Coach Beamer, you can make that risk 2 years in a row with a guy that, and Furrey's been around and been coached a lot of football, but has not coached at the highest level, has never been a head coach in the SEC before compared to someone like Shula. I don't think you can take that risk if you're Beamer, your job's on the line next year.
Well, the thing about Mike Shula that I was fine with and okay with is that we had the bowl game was what it was, and I kind of went, oh boy. But we interviewed Lenore Sellers at SEC Media Day, and he really kind of assured me that he had that relationship with Mike Shula that made it an easy transition.
Yeah.
That made him comfortable, made him happy. He didn't have to learn anything. And that was probably the day that I was like, okay, I'm fine with this hire. The bowl game what it was. You had a month and you didn't have Rocket Sanders. But if your quarterback seems very content and almost happy with maybe we should go back, and I guess it would be just beating a dead horse at this point. But I was going to say, go back and play that interview, because in it you listen and you hear Lenore Sellers almost not giddy, but happy that was the decision.
And I'm sure Beamer has talked about this to some degree, going back to when Shula was made the permanent OC. I'm sure the opinion of Lenore Sellers mattered a lot then, because, again, this guy had emerged as your superstar. He was the guy that was going to lead this offense again in 2025. And if Beamer asked him December last year, hey, what do you think about Shula being the OC? He's like, I don't know. I don't like that. He does this, does that. I don't think it's going to work. Maybe Shula doesn't get hired. But if he felt that comfortable, if he had a good relationship with him and he gave his thumbs up, now that's not the end-all be-all, but I'm sure that had a heavy influence on why they made the decision that they made. Now, again, if he's going to stick around this year, for next year, does he have that same influence again? Do you say, okay, hey, man, we're looking at this guy and this guy. Do you have a preference? Here's what he does. Here's what he does. Here's what he can do for you. Here's what he can do for you. How much does that weigh in your decision as well?
Listen, I think you ask Lenora Sellers, but his input is minimal at best, because best case scenario, you're going to get him for 1 year. And let's be clear. If he has a bad year next year, you're in trouble.
Yes, very much so.
Like that's another. If he has a bad year, you're in trouble. You don't get another year. If he has a great year, he's definitely gone. So you don't. To me, hey, Lenoris, do you have an opinion? And okay, that's 5% of your decision.
Right.
You make the call for your entire program. We'll come back. Hour 2 on the way. Chance Miller will join us at 1:15. It's the halftime show. Well, it is 1 o'clock on a Thursday, better known as the start of Bill Gunner's weekend. How about you? Am I drawing you into this yet?
Slowly, I guess.
Yeah, it takes
so.
time.
We got half a show tomorrow, so I guess that helps.
True. You work 6 hours on Friday. I work 3, and let's be honest, it's not like I show up fully prepared on a Friday. I don't show up fully prepared any day, but on a Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tonight, college football. This is. I mean, maybe it's a deal. Do you understand it? Do you not? I don't like it, but maybe I think I understand it. Thursday night game, Louisiana and Arkansas State. We don't even get like a Syracuse and.
Yeah, I want to say, I think that Wake, was it NC State game on Thursday night like 2 months ago? I think that's the only like ACC game that we've got on a Thursday night so far this year. And I get it. You're competing with the NFL, and they know they're going to lose that fight. I don't know. I enjoy it because on a typical college football Saturday, we're paying attention to the big names, the big brands, That's a game that I'm probably not watching on a Saturday, but you give it to me on a Thursday night, I'll check it out. I watched a good deal of Pete Limbo's Buffalo team last night taking on Miami of Ohio. I thought they were going to have a pretty miraculous comeback, but they came back, took the lead, and then Miami of Ohio kind of ran away with it in the second half there.
Yeah.
By the way, his team's got one more game. They got to beat Ohio to get themselves to bowl eligibility coming up next weekend. So rooting for the fighting Pete Limbos on that one. I don't know. I like the fact you get some options of games and teams that you don't normally see. And that was the whole point of Tuesday Maction, Weeknight Conference USA, all these kind of fun, or the Fun Belt, all these kind of fun things we do Tuesdays through Thursdays now is exposing teams that you otherwise probably aren't paying as much attention to.
So as we're talking, I'm just going to throw this out there at you because this dawned on me about Thursday night football. If you're South Carolina, if you're Clemson, if you're Alabama, if you're Auburn, do you give consideration because of the games next weekend? Do you even give consideration to moving games like that? If you're going to play a Coastal, if you're going to play an FCS team, there's a lot more that goes into it. I get it. This isn't just, well, we'd like to do this. But do you give consideration to, let's play that game on a Thursday night so we get 2 extra days? Technically, in theory, you're playing a game you're supposed to win, right?
Yes.
South Carolina's at 23, even as a 3-7 team. South Carolina's a 23.5-point favorite. For example, A&M plays Samford this week. Don't even have a line on that. There's a good one. Missouri and Oklahoma play this week. What else is in the SEC? Georgia, who has Georgia Tech next week. Georgia plays Charlotte this week. Alabama. Oof, I didn't realize who Alabama was playing. You want to guess? Do you know? We've played them in the last 5 years. And they were bad.
Is it Western Carolina? No.
Eastern Illinois.
Eastern Illinois, that's right.
Alabama's playing Eastern Illinois. Tickets, according to ESPN, are as low as $9 if you guys want to drive to Tuscaloosa. Auburn's playing Mercer this week. These are the SEC games that I'm just kind of going through this coming weekend. You do have Kentucky Vanderbilt. You have Arkansas Tennessee. So you have a couple good games. I'm tossing it out there. Clemson plays Furman, by the way, just from that standpoint. If you had a big game, and Georgia Tech plays Pittsburgh. That's got some ramifications to it. Nebraska plays Penn State. I get those on Saturday. Do you, moving forward, now that I say that, I would be like, hey, if we're going to play Furman or South Carolina State, or we're going to schedule this game for a Thursday night, and some of you might say, well, you've given up some of your home gate because it's a Thursday night. I don't know. It gives you that 2 extra days because let's be honest, all these games that I'm referencing, Georgia Tech, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina, Clemson. What was the other one I said? I can't remember.
Georgia, Charlotte.
Well, no, I was just thinking about the rivalry games.
The rivalry games, yeah.
But these are games that you're going to be focused on to get that 2 extra days.
Let me ask you this, because you bring up an interesting point. Because gate used to be everything. It used to truly be about how many people were coming in, buying tickets, and walking through the gates of your game. Now it's about TV revenue. Like, let's just say instead of playing against Coastal on Saturday, you play it on Thursday night. And maybe it's not a good example because it is a team that's within the state, so you're going to get a lot of their fans coming up here as well. But let's say you get, I don't know, 5,000 less people in the stadium on Saturday. Is that enough to make that big of a difference in the overall grand scheme of your revenue for the year, most of it coming from TV money? Does that really make a difference in terms of wanting to make that decision or not? I don't think it does.
I don't think it does. I didn't have this plan to discuss. It's just something as we started talking this segment, you think about, obviously a lot of us are going to be, this next week is irrelevant. I don't know if South Carolina will probably be 4-7, and Clemson should be, 6 and 5, I believe. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of us who are like, well, next week's irrelevant, and that's why we're playing on the SEC network. So you don't do that. But you hope for the years like last year where it's a knockdown, drag-out game. And by and large, the SEC now does understand. I just read off some of them: Arkansas, Texas, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, which I don't know if they knew that was going to be a decent game where we were going to watch Vanderbilt at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But, Ada, do you consider that Tennessee, Florida, by the way, this weekend? Tennessee, Florida at 7:30.
Used to be a big game.
Used to be, yeah, Florida's. But I'll be honest, and there might be logistical issues for this. I wish it was something we could ask Chance Miller for. I might ask him the scheduling philosophy on that. Obviously, I have zero clue who Coastal plays next week.
James Madison.
Is that?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
JMU.
Well, they might as well want 2 extra days.
Yeah. I think it's a conversation we had.
And by the way, real quick,
yeah.
You made a fantastic point about it. It's an in-state game.
It is.
9 out of 10 years, it is a Furman, a Wofford, an in-state game. Unfortunately, so little. But it's an in-state. So you got somebody who, basically, the travel is not a huge deal.
Right. And so next year, we're obviously going to 9 conference games, which will eliminate one of these games from everybody's schedule. You still have to play your one Power 4 opponent at a conference, which for Carolina, that's going to be, Clemson every single year, and we'll see how many other, big-name non-conference teams are going to play. But I'm interested to see, because this has been a long tradition in the SEC, or is the reason we call it Cupcake Saturday. On the penultimate weekend of the regular season, the majority of teams play G5 or FCS opponents. Will going to 9 games eliminate that to where, and you bring up a good point about potentially positioning yourself better for the final week by playing this game earlier, but does that go away next year? Are we?
Yeah, well, for South Carolina it does, because we know you got 3 non-conference. We know Clemson. Towson is Towson is September 12th, which leaves September 5th open.
Yes.
And you're going to play a bad you're going to play a team that, quite frankly, I don't give a blank about.
Yeah.
I'll probably go find a better game to watch.
That's replacing Miami.
Yes. What is fired up for the Miami game? Don't get me wrong, I love the Gamecocks. I'll be watching it somewhere. But I could give a hoot about whoever they open. Because they're going to play like Towson's FCS.
FCS.
So you're going to play like a Troy, you're going to play a Sun Belt. You might grab a MAC team. You're going to play.
You're going to play a G5 team.
Yeah.
Probably. Again, a team that.
A CAA team. Don't schedule James Madison.
Please don't. A team that on paper you should have no problem beating, to where, next year in the last week of the regular season, you're going to be playing somebody in the SEC. We know that much. So that doesn't really help you out quite the same way in this argument. But you're right. In years like this where we do have so many schools playing cupcakes, so to speak, how much would it benefit you to say, you know what, Thursday night, and you couldn't do it for everybody, but maybe one team gets to play on Thursday night on the SEC network. Maybe one team plays on Friday. I don't know. I know the SEC's
network love it.
Yeah, the SEC's their contract with TV is a little funny when it comes to when you can play on certain weekdays and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I wouldn't hate it. And gives you, because here's the thing. Would you watch like Missouri Central Arkansas on a Saturday or a Thursday?
I'd have it on it. See, that's still
exactly.
The point.
I'd watch it on Thursday. In fact, when they played them on week number 1, they were the only SEC team playing. So I was like, you know what? I'll turn it on just to see. I saw Sam Horn get hurt immediately. But yeah, it's like, okay, I have more of a reason to watch now, and maybe with basketball and stuff that's more complicated, considering that's going on. But yeah, I don't hate the idea.
803-404-6100. We'll get to Chance Miller real quick. Beth from Lamar, who texted in. And Beth, we always appreciate you. I got to understand more of your barbecue text from yesterday. They looked very interesting. Beth's not happy with that suggestion. She sends all caps. College football is for Saturdays.
I don't disagree.
I agree. I did. This is a little bit different. She says people can't get off early to get there on a weekday night.
Yeah.
And then points out Central Michigan. I'll push back and say Central Michigan is a little bit different. Let's come back. We'll revisit this.
Yeah.
I want to get to the other text about, do we think Sean Elliott and Mike Furrey is safe? I'll come back to that coming up this hour. We'll get to all of that. You're listening to Tyler Head, Captain David Dare, Bill Gunner. He is Chance Miller, Coastal Carolina Athletic Director, coming up next. It is 1:16 on a Thursday, gearing up for football tonight. Last night was a great night of basketball. I'll get into that later. Man, it was a great night of basketball. Carolina Hurricanes also in NHL lost in overtime again. We'll have to get into that a little bit. But joining us now to talk all things from being an AD to a food connoisseur to a fashionista, Chance Miller, who let's put the rumor to rest. I understand. I was told, Chance, things that show up on the media, on social media, they're not always true. We have to learn that not everything that gets posted is true. You were the one that modeled the glow-in-the-dark uniforms for the football team when you unveiled them, that you came out, pads, uniform, and all, so that the team could see what they'd be wearing.
Yeah, that's definitely not true. They don't want me modeling anything, especially after I've gotten here and gained a couple pounds. So, yeah, don't need to be modeling anything right now. Hope you're doing well, man. It's good to hear from you, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
We're getting there, buddy. Good doctor's appointment on Tuesday, and got a lot of things kind of progressing in the manner that I need them to be. Still a long road ahead, but I appreciate you thinking of me, and definitely want to get down there with you soon and catch up. But let's talk about, from your perspective, how the season has been. And I'm not so much talking about the on-the-field stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first year of is this the first or the second year of the free concessions?
This is the first year, so we implemented that during the off season to try to help us sell season tickets and get people into the building, and I think it's been very successful. You know, when I got here, our season ticket renewal rate was not very good. It was down in the 60% range, and we're up north of 90% this year. And if you looked at our first couple of games, we were at a complete sellout in our first three games, which was great for us. Had the three highest attendances ever in Brooks Stadium. So I think it's working. Our student body population has come out. We've had, I think, over 65% of the student body population has come to a game in each of our games so far. So excited about what we got going, and the free hot dogs and concessions got a lot of attention, and that's always a good thing when we can put eyes on our university.
Hey, Chance, thanks for taking the time. Off that note, when you look at the free concession stuff, what you guys did with the Halloween uniforms obviously went viral. A lot of people talking about both those things on social media. What is the value to a school like Coastal when it comes to social engagement when y'all do those kind of things?
Oh, it's huge. You know, Patrick Osborne, who was with me at South Carolina and came down here to Coastal with me, he does a phenomenal job on social and interacting with a lot of different accounts that have a nationwide reach. And that's one thing that my Board of Trustees and my president have really tasked us with, is trying to get the Coastal brand out nationally. And for all of, ESPN and others to be able to pick that up, it was huge for us. And that was something that Andy Humes and I had thought about 8 months ago. How do we lean into the Conway Myrtle Beach area and what's going to be, fun to do. And we said, let's do an airbrush jersey as a special game. And I wonder if we can make it glow in the dark. And our equipment people did a wonderful job working with Under Armour and our partners here to make that work. And, 2 nights before we were in there testing it, and sometimes it didn't pick up on camera. And I thought, oh man, we're 48 hours away and we don't even know if this thing's actually going to work. But we were able to pull it off and get a lot of reach off of it, which was cool.
Real quick, you have hired Mike Uva. I know he's been instrumental, but a great addition to your organization. But he's also a foodie, and you mentioned you gained weight. You two try to avoid each other at lunchtime, because I would imagine the seafood buffets, they can get you down there. How's Mike doing for you?
Mike's doing awesome, man. To have Mike come on and just his experience on the other side, being with the press, he's able to help me, when we have things that come up. I always ask him, okay, what kind of questions would you have asked? And we're able to prep those. He's done a lot of media training with our athletes so far. He's been really helpful to our coaches. And then Mike just has a huge reach, a huge audience. And, you talk about the glow-in-the-dark jerseys. After that happened, his buddy at ESPN reached out to him and said, hey, can you get us 2 jerseys and we'll wear them on SportsCenter Saturday morning leading into game day. And Mike, without hesitation, jumped on a flight, took both jerseys up there, and was on ESPN that morning. So that was great attention for us, and excited about him growing in this role. He's still learning how to work on a college campus, and But I'm excited about what he brings to our team.
As we look ahead to this weekend's game with Coastal coming in here, we always joke about in football games get scheduled so many years in advance. Like, all right, well, the kids going to play in that game are currently 6 years old or whatever now. When it comes to these games being put on the schedule, what are those conversations like? When do they start? And how's the process of putting together a game like this happen from your perspective at Coastal?
Yeah, they come together, years in advance, like you said. This one's a little weird for me because back in 2020, when I was at South Carolina, we were supposed to play Coastal Carolina, and COVID hit, and it went to an all SEC schedule. So I had to work with Matt Hogue, who was my predecessor here, and we rescheduled this game for now. And so if you look at the contract, my signature's on the contract, just on the other side. So didn't foresee that I'd be at Coastal and coming back up there to play, but here we are, and excited about coming back up to Williams-Brice and seeing all my former colleagues. And it will be a little weird being on the other sideline and looking over, especially to coaching staff that I was very close with, but still excited to be up there.
Are you noticing a difference? You see what's happening with the SEC and going to the 9-game schedule and canceling some of these bigger games. We were just talking, I think Alabama canceled West Virginia.
Yeah.
They're going to play East Carolina. South Carolina canceled Miami. They're looking for another opponent. Are you getting, because you're a G5 school, are you getting a few more opportunities with bigger schools calling, saying, hey, are y'all interested in filling a date over the next 3 or 4 years?
So, we actually lucked out on the Alabama-West Virginia game with Alabama canceling that. We picked up West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually going up there next year to open the season. And, funny enough, the president that hired me here at Coastal just took the West Virginia job. So we'll be going up to play him and his staff. But, with the SEC going to 9 games and a lot of these conferences looking to add more conference games, it's actually hurting us at the Group of 5 level. We're not getting as much as we used to, and it's also driven down the price, of what they used to pay us to come up to some of these games. So when you look at it, it used to be pretty lucrative to come to South Carolina and be able to play up there, but now that price is getting driven down so much, you look at it and say, do you really want to play those games? And I think the days of, like, we had Virginia here last year at home, when I got here, I think those days of seeing that is probably done for right now.
Again, he's Chance Miller joining us. Let's jump to another sport for a second. Tyler and I haven't talked to you, and this occurred in June. Your excitement, I think you and I texted a little bit back in June. The run, Coach Schnall, the baseball team, obviously, I don't want you to get in trouble, so I'm not going to ask your opinion of the first inning of the championship game.
I think everybody knows my opinion of the first inning there. That was pretty widely broadcast.
I'll speak for you when we get off air, so you're not. I was vocal about it, but number one, your enjoyment seeing that run, your enjoyment seeing that program build under Coach Schnall, but also there was a time there, and I've become a Coastal fan because of you. I still want to get down there and catch a game. But I was worried that you were going to lose Kevin Schnall to Tennessee. There were rumors of his name. Talk about that season, but also the importance of keeping him on campus to continue to build this program.
Well, I think what a special season that was, and a run, to go 26 straight wins. When the kids got out of school, the day they got out of school, Lauren and I took them and said, you know what, we're gonna travel with baseball all postseason until they're done. And I love my family, but after 42 days in a hotel, I didn't think it was going to be that long. I was ready to get away from them, and I think they were ready to get away from me too. But what a special run. We had a great group of guys. I mean, they're phenomenal to be around. Our coaching staff is just amazing how they prepare and how they treat people. And it was a great run. I mean, we beat some really good teams, and you could tell, after the Sun Belt Championship, they just started going on one of those magical runs. I thought we were going to get it. I think if Arkansas beats LSU and doesn't blow that game, LSU probably has to burn their pitching a little bit more, and we're probably sitting here holding the national championship trophy. But it was great attention for us. We did earned media dollar study on it for Coastal Carolina. It came back at $575 million in earned media for the university just in that run. And if you look at our application link to the university, it skyrocketed during that time. And people wanted to know about Coastal Carolina, wanted to see what it was all about. And we picked up a lot of fans in that time. And then, I was excited for Coach Snow and his program. And then, we worked on Coach Snow and his coaches, all their contracts. We were able to bump them up a little bit and put some incentives in there. And, when a Tennessee or others came calling, Coach and I talked a lot about it. And I was actually down with him in Charleston Southern at a scrimmage that night. And we sat in his car for about 45 minutes talking about, what he should do and what he should look for. And I'll give it to him. He just looked at me and said, when I'm looking at my team this year coming up compared to some of these other schools, we would beat them. Why would I leave? And I'm excited to have him here still and excited for the season we got coming. We got a really talented group. I think on paper, they're more talented than what we had last year.
We're still breaking him. I haven't had him in with Tyler yet. Coach is a very intense guy. I think he was learning to do interviews with me. We were almost there, so I need to get him on again here in the offseason when he's not as serious.
Yeah, real quick here, last about 90 seconds. Long-term goals, what are you looking to build? What are things in the future that you're looking to accomplish down there at Coastal?
Yeah, we're adding some more stuff onto the football stadium. We added probably 10 to 12 premium areas this year. And sold them out immediately. Actually had some new donors come about because of those areas, and just met 2 weeks ago with one of the donors, and have a 7-figure gift that they're paying up front. But for that premium, we wouldn't have known about that person. And so we're going to continue to add in football. We need to get better in football. We're a little beat up right now. So we're down to our third quarterback of the season coming to play you guys, and so we've got to get some better, depth on the roster to help us, and I think that's coming. And then baseball is rolling. So is softball. They're both returning Sun Belt champions and good pitching. And then basketballs, I think we're building. Our women's team played NC State, top 20 team last night, really close, up in Raleigh. And then our men's team just came off of a win against Winthrop at home. A good Winthrop team that took Arkansas down to the buzzer. So I'm excited about what basketballs have when it comes to Sun Belt play.
You're doing an incredible job. Real quick, about 30 seconds. Have you already started and get your 6-4 for an AD? Do you start engagement in bowl conversation at this point?
Yeah, we're having weekly calls with the Sun Belt about where we're going to be, and there's 3 or 4 options out there. So we're all kind of politicking for where we want to be. We all want to go down south somewhere sunny and warm.
Well, I'll say this. We want to be a part of the bowl game. I don't know if it's your choice. I'll be in touch with you. Tyler and I want to be a part of the bowl game there in Conway. I can't remember the name of it, but you and I will get together on that, and we'll definitely get you back on air here at the beginning of December and catch up with you, and we appreciate you taking time out today.
Well, guys, appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Definitely. Take care.
Take care.
Chance Miller.
Myrtle Beach Bowl, by the way.
It's the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Doesn't have a sponsor, or Myrtle Beach is the official?
It may have another sponsor. I know it's the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
I like to always have the official
I got you.
Pollen Weed Eater Independence Myrtle Beach Bowl. Halftime show. Be back. Reminder tonight, coming up at 7 o'clock, Shane Beamer and Carolina Calls with Todd Ellis. Doesn't have the same cachet when they're 3-7.
It doesn't. Are we placing bets on if the fight gets brought up or not? Because I've a strong feeling
That covers a segment.
Yeah, I think it does. And again, I feel like it's kind of thing you beat into the ground a little bit, and before people stop talking about it. I think we've had our fun with it this week.
They definitely have. We'll listen to Clayton White in just a minute. It'll be cut number 11. Captain Dave, I'll call for that in just a minute. Following Carolina Calls with Shane Beamer tonight, Thursday Night Football, Bills, Texans.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I believe the Texans are still without C.J. Stroud, so get Davis Mills. Yes, I feel like he's been with the Texans for 20 years now. Davis Mills taking on Josh Allen and the Bills. Here's the thing. The Bills can't afford to slip anymore. You've got a red-hot Patriots team that's on an 8-game win streak right now. You've already lost to them once. You got one more game against them. You can't afford to fall further behind. So, it's weird to say a Thursday night game in the middle of November is a must-win for the Bills, but you can't afford to lose too much ground if you want to, A, win your division, and B, put yourself in a better spot in the playoffs as opposed to going on the road as a wild card.
Yeah, I think they get the job done tonight. They are a 5.5-point favorite. That game is in Houston tonight. You mentioned it, the NFL standings, and maybe we'll get Eric Edholm back on next week. You are right. They're 9-2. Excuse me. The Patriots are 9-2. The Bills are 7-3. The Dolphins are on fire. Break them up. They won two in a row, and they're 4-7. Making sure they don't have that number one pick, because why would you want that when you stink the way they do? The Bills and the Chiefs, Bo. Chiefs are 5-5.
Yeah.
We might have a play. It's not incomprehensible that we got no Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift to look at, Andy Reid to look at in the postseason. It's not. I don't know what the odds are. I don't know, how they do the little, the little prediction machine, but as of today, I'm looking at ESPN. Their playoff machine. Their playoff machine does not have Kansas City would be on the outside looking in.
Yep, as of right now. And again, that's the struggle of getting off to such a slow start there. And again, you still got 7 more games, and if you go on a nice run to close things out, you'll be in good position. But as of right now, they are sitting 2? I guess I got 1 game back of being in.
Jacksonville 6-4.
Jacksonville has the last spot right now. Chiefs are
5-5.
5-5, and I'm reading here that Houston has the tiebreaker over them as of right now.
Houston and Baltimore, the other 2 teams there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Kansas City beat Baltimore in the head-to-head, so they have the tiebreaker over them at this point in time. But yeah, it's getting late real early for Kansas City. You can't mess around anymore. You got to turn it on these final 7 games, and that's kind of the reality in the NFL, right? They won so many one-score games last year. They were winning games with blocked field goals. The other team fumbling
late. They set the record 17 straight.
Yeah, something crazy like that. They were winning all these tight games a season ago, and this year the shoe kind of seems to be on the other foot. That's just kind of how football goes. Again, the other night it looked like when Travis Kelce scored the touchdown, that might have been enough for them to beat Denver, and Denver goes down the field and wins the game anyway. So they're just not winning some of those same games they were winning a season ago. Now, again, when you got Andy Reid and you got 15, you're always going to believe they're going to have a chance. And if they get into the postseason, whether they're at home, on the road, whatever, they're always going to be dangerous. And I imagine there's a lot of people, Jack, a resident Bills fan, is really hoping the Chiefs don't make the postseason, because that's been the one thing in the way of Josh Allen, in the way of Lamar Jackson, those kind of guys from getting to a Super Bowl, is the Chiefs.
Sunday, 4:05 p.m., Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada. A special day.
Yes.
What's happening?
What is happening?
See if you're on this.
Cleveland, Las Vegas, which means Shedeur Sanders is making his first career start.
The 42nd starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. 42nd starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns since 1999. That is 12 more than any other NFL franchise out there during that time period.
That guy has to update the jersey now.
He's out of room.
It's going down his leg at this point.
Yeah, he's having to get tattoos on the back of his calf.
And here's the thing: this is not a shot at Shedeur Sanders.
Can be.
I think it's going to go like every other Browns quarterback goes, to where, all right, he might be good in some games, bad in others. Eventually, he'll move on and go somewhere else and probably be better. Because when you're with the Cleveland Browns, I don't care who you are, you're only so successful. And that's the same case for Shedeur Sanders. That's just, I mean, again, we have a large sample size to tell us how this is probably going to go. And it's not against Shedeur personally. I just don't think it's going to be that great.
He's going to get hurt.
Well, and then that's the reason why he played on Sundays, because Dylan Gabriel got hurt.
That's my point. They've given up. Shedeur's taken two. This isn't Shedeur Sanders' debut. He's thrown 4 passes this year, for those wondering.
And there's a lot of people this week, again, there's a lot of casuals that like to talk about Shedeur Sanders. When he went in there this past weekend, didn't play well against the Ravens, people say, well, he didn't get first-team reps. Well, yeah, because he wasn't a starting quarterback. Dylan Gabriel was, and only left the game because he got hurt. That's how this works in the NFL. This week, he will get starting reps because he's the starter.
Right.
That's how practice typically works, people.
Does it draw you any in? Now, it's Cleveland, Las Vegas. Nobody would have any interest in whatsoever in this game.
I really hope that's not the game that CBS gives us here in this local market for 405.
By the way, the Browns 10th in the league in sacks giving up this year. So take it for what it's worth on that. But they've given up 29 so far this season. The Titans have allowed Cam Ward to just be pounded into the ground.
That's why they need a new head coach.
They've given up 41. The Chargers are allowing Justin Herbert. Who is it Justin Herbert's dating?
Madison Beers.
Okay, yeah, they were like, basically, oh, you got a good-looking girlfriend? We're going to mess you up too, buddy.
Have you seen the thing, like when they were on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago, when they do the intro, they always show, starting lineup, they always show what you're graded in Pro Football Focus, like among your position group. All of his offensive linemen were like in the 30s out of 30-something, because, again, you only got so many guys playing that position. It's like, my God, he's playing. I mean, they're still 7-3, still doing well, but it's like, man, Justin Herbert's doing a lot of heavy lifting out there behind that bad offensive line.
Not good. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll let you listen to Clayton White on Fightgate, maybe even some James Franklin on well, he got permission to get married.
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Yes. He's only asked for permission twice in his life.
Yes. Well, don't understand? Don't worry. We'll explain. You're listening to the Halftime Show. wrap up hour number 2. Big thank you to Chance Miller. We'll get that podcast. That's pretty informative there just from his standpoint and building Coastal Carolina. I love the fact we got a third program in this state. Nothing against Wofford or Furman or South Carolina State, Charleston Southern.
Yeah, but there's, that's FCS. There's a difference when you make the jump up. And look, Coastal has a good history when it comes to football from the days in FCS. And they make the transition up. And in today's world of realignment and stuff, who knows where they'll be in 10 to 15 years. You know what I mean? Could they be a team that eventually makes its way into a bigger, high-end conference? I don't know. You never know.
I go back and forth on that. It's a great question because they have neat little regional rivalries that are kind of fun to watch. The App State game is a lot of fun. Georgia State is a lot of fun.
James Madison.
Yeah, James Madison's just good. South Alabama, Louisiana, Troy, Arkansas State, Southern Miss. Those are all in the Western Division of the Sun Belt. The one that I would look at if they could sneak into, if they could sneak into, would you want to go to the the AAC?
Well, now it's just the American. They dropped athletic from their name, but that's kind of the
where you get a Tulane, you get an East Carolina, South Florida, Memphis.
Yeah, and look, realignment.
Army, Navy.
Realignment's probably going to continue to ravage this sport in the next handful of years, and the Big 12 likes to look at the American to get their teams from. So if the Big 12 ends up plucking a Tulane or a Memphis to come join them, then okay, we got some spots. Coastal, get into a new state, all that kind of stuff. They could be next up. But again, you're always trying to climb. You're always trying to put yourself in a better financial situation. So who knows where they'll end up? But again, it's neat. And again, we paid more close attention to it because it's happening right down the road. But when you see them get some national recognition for what they did with the concession stands, for the Halloween thing that, we saw Yuva on SportsCenter, like you talked about, going up there and showing off the uniforms and the process of how they did all that and stuff like that. That's good for a school like that, again, has to fight a little bit of an uphill battle when it comes to getting attention sometimes, but I think they've done a really good job.
803-404-6100. So we sit here on a Thursday, and we have been dealing with Fightgate. Now, I said it yesterday. I've talked to enough sources. Nothing happened. There is nothing. I don't care what you read on the social medias or the message boards or whatever. I can't say it.
Jim Bob Gamecock fan on the message board said,
these people, nothing happened. I've confirmed it with completely people who don't even have a dog in the fight, who would have said, yeah, just, But so Shane Beamer addressed it. Shane Beamer was actually pretty funny in how he addressed it. I give credit. We might have to go back and pull that. But here's Clayton White yesterday addressing his fight, and we've got fight in parentheses, fight with Shane Beamer.
No, I'm just glad Coach Beamer addressed that yesterday. Just one of those. It was a rumor that kind of it had some legs to it, and obviously we made fun of it and thought it was, I'm glad that he addressed it. I don't have to double back on it, but definitely. I got some gloves in there, yes, for sure. I actually met Bone Crusher Smith when I was a kid, so those are some of my boxing moments.
So we got tips. You got advice. Listen, kid, if you're ever going to be in a coach or ever going to be in a fight with your head coach one day, here's what you got to do.
Careful, Clayton. They'll demote you to a strength and conditioning coach. That sounds kind of what that is. This is, again, social media. I did a podcast on it last night on mental health and the cancer that is social media and putting stuff out and fake and AI and all that. I put that photo out, by the way. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter last night. You can go to my Twitter account at Will.
Again, if I squint real hard, I can believe it.
Yeah, if you're blind. If you're legitimately blind and somebody's describing it to you. Real quick, let's go. We ran a poll yesterday. We haven't gotten into this a whole lot. We'll get more into it tomorrow. South Carolina and Coastal this weekend, or men's basketball playing a very interesting 2-game set at the Greenbrier tip-off, Butler and Northwestern. We're going to learn something. Yesterday, we said, what are you more interested for? What are you more excited for? 68.8% going with basketball this weekend over the football game.
doesn't surprise me. I mean, there's not anything new that you can take away from football this weekend that's going to make you feel that much better. You can feel worse. You lose the game, you can feel worse.
Right.
But at least men's basketball, there's the excitement of, okay, all right, you've taken care of some, lower end mid-major teams. Now you're going to step up and play some power competition. Let's see what happens. And if you watch away with a 1-1 split and see some good things, you're going to feel pretty good about where you're at.
Yeah, I'm not looking at Ken Palm. I'm just, again, Butler is coming in 3-1, but their 3 wins are fairly irrelevant. Northwestern comes in to the little set this weekend, and Northwestern is currently sitting at 4-0 on the season. Who have they played so far? I'm going to go with they've played nobody. They've beaten okay. Haven't heard of this. Let's play a game.
Sure.
Mercyhurst.
I've heard of them. I think they're in California. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, hard time believing. Boston U, Cleveland State, and DePaul. So Butler 3-1.
Mercyhurst, Erie, Pennsylvania.
There you go. We'll come back, get you set. Brad Crawford do up the next hour. It's the halftime show. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. Here we are, 1 week from Thanksgiving, and I don't know, several weeks from Christmas. But are you thinking about Christmas presents and turkeys, or are you thinking about what you want to do with your house? You probably got family coming over, and that starts the thought process of maybe we need to remodel after all this. We need to do something with our home. Well, if you're looking for a great loan, the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, is the guy to call. 803-719-1005. Now, you might just want to lower your monthly mortgage payment and refinance. Guess what? He can do that, too. He's the absolute best in the business. And, of course, if you're looking to buy or build, especially if you're looking to build, First Palmetto Bank has a no-nonsense construction loan that will fit your needs. But you don't know until you call. You got to call today, 803-719-1005. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Final hour of the program. Let's give you a rundown. We got a lot going on over the next 72 hours. Tonight, Carolina calls with Shane Beamer. 7 o'clock, you can hear that right here on 107.5 The Game. Shane Beamer and Todd Ellis. Also tonight, Houston Texans hosting the Buffalo Bills. Big game, as Tyler pointed out for the Bills.
Need to can't keep slipping back behind the Patriots. Got to have that.
So that'll be the 8 o'clock game tonight. So you 7 and 8 o'clock, you got stuff going on. Tomorrow, Tyler and I will do an hour and a half show. We'll get going at 12. Well, we should have Brian Edwards on. Last I saw, I don't know what was going on, but he seemed to indicate that he was in the Bahamas. Now, phones do work in the Bahamas.
That is true.
And we do an afternoon show where he shouldn't be sleeping in. I was going. Yes, his tweet 23 hours ago said in the Bahamas, Manana. Manana, is that right? Manana. Tomorrow.
Mañana.
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 Yeah.
And then he says lines, not my picks. I don't know what.
Well, here's the thing. Bets don't take a day off. There's no vacations in betting.
He has also put out other tweets. The Falcons signed Kyle Trask to their practice squad.
I did, because in case you haven't heard, Michael Penix Jr. has yet another season-ending leg injury. He tore his left ACL twice in college. He's now torn his right ACL. I'm not loving the prospects of his future right now.
All right. Brian Edwards also tweets out NC State has won 3 in a row over FSU, 5 of the last 6. The Noles haven't won at Carter Finley Stadium since 2016. He does point out they don't play every year. FSU is 0-3 straight up and against the spread on the road, while NC State is 4-1 straight up and 3-2 at home. And he adds NC State is 8-2 against the spread with 6 outright wins in its last 10 games as a home underdog since 2020.
Also worth noting, Florida State does need to win one more game to get to bowl eligibility. Does that save Norvell's job? I don't know. But if they're 5-7 and miss a bowl game, I certainly don't like his prospects of coming back.
I think it buys him one more year. Look, the coaching carousel, I think it's thin. And we might have to come back and address this next week as we get closer. Is Lane Kiffin turning back? Is Lane Kiffin turning into Taylor Swift? And the reason I say that is because, are we all getting tired of the Lane Kiffin saga? Lane Kiffin had been able to do a pretty good 180,
sure,
I think, on his reputation and everything. And it's not that – it's just at this point, I get that he's enjoying all this, and I get that – but I'm trying to go back and find the tweet earlier that was actually so funny where it's this is Trey Wallace. Lane Kiffin's coaching saga feels like a Taylor Swift album rollout. Cryptic posts, emotional passages, and fan theories.
Yeah.
It's been an illicit affairs with an epiphany that could lead to exile.
Listen, I think Lane Kiffin is having the time of his life right now. I think this is the ultimate troll job. Look, every artist has their masterpiece, right? Every comedian has their best joke. Lane Kiffin is a great Twitter troll. For a coach. Again, he has those little quips and press conferences every now and then, and that is what every college football fan knows. Lane Kiffin's a little quirky, right? Well, right now he's the prettiest girl at the dance. Everybody wants him. Florida wants him.
It's kind of by
LSU wants
a long shot,
by
too.
a long shot, yeah. I'm sure Penn State has a high interest in him, but it does seem like it's a three-way dance between LSU, Florida, and him staying at Ole Miss. And look, I think he's going to stay at Ole Miss, right? But I don't think Lane Kiffin could pass up the opportunity to have a little bit of fun at these other schools' expense. So we heard there's speculation about, and there were pictures to prove it, that his family went on the plane ride to check out Baton Rouge, went to the plane ride to check out Gainesville, because I'm sure both those schools like, Lane, what can we do to get you here? Well, I like my family in Oxford. We got everybody together in one place. I don't know if they'd like your city. Well, let's fly him out here. Lane turns to his family, hey, you guys want an all-expenses-paid weekend or day in Gainesville or Baton Rouge? They'll buy you food, they'll buy you clothes, whatever you want. Go for it. Go there and go for it. And that leads that fan base a little bit more to believe, hey, wait a minute. His family's coming down. Oh, they're going to love Baton Rouge. They're going to love Gainesville. And then you say, okay, well, he's definitely coming here now. silence, right? The other day, he goes on Pat McAfee, denies the ultimatum happened supposedly between him and Ole Miss. Is that true? I don't know. Could be lying through his teeth, but he's playing everybody. And I think at some point, whether it's before the Egg Bowl, for the playoff, whatever, he's going to come out with and I don't know how he's going to do it, because it's not just going to be in a press conference saying, oh, yeah, I'm staying here, by the way. He's going to do something elaborate to announce that he's staying so we can watch LSU and Florida scramble to figure out plan B.
But here's this is my question to you on this. Does he need to be up front behind the scenes with Ole Miss brass as to not upset them? Like, hey, guys, I'm about to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can't upset your bosses and have them on pins and needles while you're doing this. Like, you don't have to tell the fan base. You don't have to tell. You can tell the president.
Sure.
You can tell the AD. And, I mean, really, those are the two guys you can be like, look, I'm not going anywhere. And then they can speculate whether he's being honest with them or not.
If you feel like you can swear them to secrecy, sure. I feel like Lane knows he's in control. And I think truly nobody knows but Lane Kiffin right now, because typically if anybody else knows, something gets out. There is some kind of leak. There is some kind of something where you get a strong indication he's going one way or the other, and we're not really getting that. We're getting speculation on both sides of it.
I don't think you want to. He's in such a great place at Mississippi. Such a great place. You don't want to anger the people who would bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
Like, they're talking about ultimatums and bowl games, and they're doing all. And I don't know if that's true or not. And it just makes me wonder if he sat down. And again, all you got to tell is two people and be like, guys, I'm going to promote. It'll make us look better. Recruits are going to see that, I'm staying, but I'm going to have a lot of fun. That's what I would think you have to do.
Maybe.
You can't bite the hand. And everybody's going to say, well, and they're probably true, Ole Miss needs Lane Kiffin more than Lane Kiffin needs Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And that's very true. But common courtesy is to go to only those two people.
Sure.
Nobody else. You don't need to tell your players. You don't need to tell your assistants. You don't need to tell the secretary in your office. You don't need to tell. But you need to just go to the president and the AD so that – because let me tell you, if those guys don't know, I'm not sleeping good right now. They're sleeping worse.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point, and we don't know. And look, at whatever decision he makes, we'll get the dirty details of this in due time about what's really going on right now and what ultimately is going to happen. But, he's the center of attention. The entire college football world is paying attention to what he's going to do and the ripple effect. Because if he does leave Ole Miss, well, okay, now who's Ole Miss going to hire? Okay, well, he didn't go to Florida. Now who's Florida going to hire? It seems like LSU's putting all their eggs in the Kiffin basket.
Which I think they've got 0% chance.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
I think they end up with Lincoln Riley.
You think so? And I've heard Lincoln Riley is a wild card here. He could leave Southern Cal, which they've had a good season. And if they beat Oregon this weekend, they could vault themselves in the playoff conversation. So he's done a good job getting things to a solid ground there at Southern Cal, and he very well could come to a place like LSU. But again, all we're hearing right now is Lane Kiffin. They are full go with him. And if he doesn't go there, I think they scramble a little bit. We'll see.
Quarter ways in, Lane isn't going anywhere. He's just stalling LSU and Florida from making a hire. And I could see him
and
we can't put anything past Lane Kiffin.
That is the thing, because you're also talking about two teams within your own conference. Yeah. And with the way the calendar works
that
out now.
That he recruits against. With the way the calendar works now, as soon as the regular season is over, you immediately have National Signing Day, early signing day, whatever we want to call it now. As soon as the calendar turns January, boom, the transfer portal opens. You need to have your head coach in place before early signing day happens. So if Lane can drag this out past the Egg Bowl, if he can get it even to Monday of after the Egg Bowl, then I think he's successfully caught LSU and Florida in a pickle. The portal opens in January, but guys,
you still got to have somebody hired before signing day.
I don't know if okay, circle that and come back to that.
Yeah.
Because of the OC situation and other things. I think with the portal these days, now, mind you, the portal doesn't open until January.
Yeah.
However, I mean, today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, whatever, kids can announce their intentions.
They can.
You can announce your intentions. Bengali Kamara last year announced in October.
Yeah.
And then officially. So the portal opening and announcing your intentions are two entirely different things.
Sure.
But we'll come back to that. We'll circle back. I tell you what, we'll get a little bit more into Lane Kiffin with Brad Crawford. We'll get his take on that. Also get his take on South Carolina football and a few other things as he joins us as he normally does. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain David Ayer. It is the halftime show. It is Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for over 30 years, now I'm 43, I feel old, but 30 is not young in and itself. And if you've done something like Mid-State Roofing has for over 30 years, which is be the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, you have done something right. Now, a lot of reasons for that. They do install bonded systems with a protective guarantee. That's obviously important, keeping your operation dry and running long into the future. But what I think stands out, and the reason I believe in Mid-State Roofing, is because of that customer service. They want to make sure they get the job done in a safe, timely, and pleasing manner for your home or for your business to ensure that your operation is going to stay dry and running long into the future. So you want to give them a phone call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're there to take your phone call. 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. It is 2:16 as we slowly start to wrap things up. And I don't know, Vista Lights tonight. Tyler and I were just talking about that. Should be a fun little event just down the road. So some stuff going on tonight around town. But joining us now, friend of the program, a guy that I turn to when we need a voice of reason. We need somebody to step in and put us in our place. Mr. Brad Crawford with CBS Sports. And, Brad, boy, we got so many topics and so little time. But you're also doing so much social media. But, I see you on about every podcast now. You're just so popular. I'd like to brag for a second. I think I was in with the ground floor with you.
I tell you what, man, I'm doing more TV now than I'm doing writing and radio. So I never thought that would happen 10 years ago when you and I first talked, man. But here we are.
He's got a better face than us if he's on TV.
Don't say that. I posted that picture on Twitter last night. I look good.
Again, you got to squint a little bit.
You saw that, right, Brad?
Oh yeah. I saw the muscle man. Oh yeah.
Let's talk some college football before we get to South Carolina. Before you came on, Tyler and I were debating the Lane Kiffin situation. Let me ask you this. If Lane Kiffin is trolling everybody, if he's having a good time, does he have to let the president of Mississippi, only the president and only the AD, know that, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to mess with everybody, but I'm sticking with you guys. I'm not going anywhere. I said he does. I don't think you can treat the hand that feeds you that way. But I could be wrong. People might disagree with me. If he's going to stay, do you think he's already given an inclination to those two and those two only?
If he's going to stay, yes. Now, why Ole Miss would let this charade continue and what Lane has to gain from all this social media jargon he's doing, I don't really know. I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to stay at Ole Miss. But if he is, then Florida either turns to maybe Eli Drinkwitz, maybe Lincoln Riley, leaves the West Coast and goes to Gainesville. I've kind of heard that behind the scenes as well. So very interesting things these last 2 weeks. But from Ole Miss's standpoint, Bill, I understand why this has come out that essentially an ultimatum has been given.
Okay, so going off of your assumption that he might leave Ole Miss, what dominoes fall for them? Who are they looking at? What direction do they go? Because that would be very abrupt and last minute compared to these other schools that fired their coaches several weeks ago.
That would be a blow, and I think right now, if I'm Ole Miss's athletic director, I already have 3 or 4 names on my list in case my coach does leave me. I mean, it would be crazy if he did not. And I think Ole Miss would likely go the G5 route. It would probably attract some attention from, lower Power 5 coaches. But with Arkansas open and Auburn open and Florida open and LSU open, just so many SEC jobs right now, I think some of the dominoes are going to have to fall to see what Ole Miss would have left in this cycle.
Well, we had Dave Bartu on, and I agree with this about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. There's going to be guys, because of what you just said, because of the size of the job market, because of the butterfly or trickle-down effect, there's going to be guys that are going to get opportunities that, quite frankly, are not prepared for bigger jobs. You agree with that?
I think so, and no disrespect to a guy like Bob Chesney at James Madison, but, if he gets the UCLA job, that's one of the toughest jobs right now that you can win immediately at. And, Bill, we've seen the last couple of cycles, various coaches. I mean, Brian Kelly got fired in year 4. We've seen coaches getting ultimatums in year 3 now, so you don't really get time to turn around anything. If you don't get to 6 wins and bowl eligibility your first season, there's already boosters that want you gone. So I'm very interested in seeing who UCLA hires, who LSU hires. The Lane Kiffin stuff has died down a little bit in Baton Rouge, but it's just very interesting to me that they made this move for Brian Kelly, and they haven't hired anybody yet. Penn State too, another top 10 program, wide open right now.
Let's bring this back locally a little bit. You mentioned bowl eligibility. Unfortunately, Carolina not going to get to that this year. Best they can go is 5-7. We all feel pretty comfortable saying that Coach Beamer will be here next year, aside from just getting obliterated in these next 2 games, and maybe that changes things. How do you view how things have gone down this year for Carolina when the expectations were so high and they clearly didn't come anywhere close to living up to them?
Yeah, the expectations were high. I thought this Carolina team was going to be 7-5. That was my preseason projection. I thought they were closer to a 6-win team than an 8-win team just based on the personnel losses defensively and what they did or did not do in the transfer portal. But I don't think 2025 was ever going to be a contract year for Shane Beamer. I know there's a lot of the fan base out there, Gamecock diehards, that would like to see new blood in there. But with this cycle being where it is and Shane having bought himself some time with that 9-win season, I mean, look, fellas, the last 100 years have been less than, 16 or 17 total 9-win seasons in program history. So, I mean, he had a great year last year. It doesn't always mean back-to-back year of success, but I think Shane knows, and based on what he said this week about playoffs in 2026, that 2026 is certainly a contract year for him, and I have no doubt that Jeremiah Donati, South Carolina's first-year AD, would make a move next year if history repeats itself.
But I want to go back on what you just said. When you said you didn't anticipate them living up to the expectation, you pointed out the defense. You tell me if I'm wrong on this. Tell me if you disagree. Defense has been fine. This isn't a defensive issue this year. Clayton White is making $2.1 million, and I'll be honest, that's going to be a lot for another school to come in and top. It's not impossible, but it also, I think, makes it where it limits the job opportunities to a head coaching job, which are very possible. But the defense hasn't been the problem, and I'll be honest, they're set up for even more success if they can keep young talent there.
Yeah, I think defense on the next side of the football, especially after we get through spring practice and see what the starting 2 deep is going to look like, they're going to be fine on defense next year. Like you said, it was certainly has performed above expectations this year. And you think about how many possessions the defense has had to be on the field following 3-and-outs and turnovers and just empty drives. Like, I thought this offense for South Carolina may struggle in 2025. I did not think it would be one of the worst in college football. I did not see Lenora Sellers' regression coming. Everyone was promised, at least outside of the program and inside, that the turn to Mike Shula in 2025 was going to look a lot like Dow Logan's offense. Maybe some schematic changes slightly, but nothing like we've seen. I mean, I see a talented quarterback back there that really has had no confidence throughout the season, and a lot of the talent in the backfield just has not performed.
You mentioned that confidence with Sellers, and I think we all agree it's not been nearly the same as it was a year ago. Likely going to go outside and hire an offensive coordinator here in the next couple weeks. Going to be tasked with hopefully getting Sellers back to that same level, assuming that he stays here in 2026. How big of a challenge is that? How far away do you feel like he is from where he was a year ago to where he is now?
I think you just have to move Lenora Sellers out of the pocket. Steve Tannehill said a few weeks ago that he sees Lenore as a spread quarterback, and I could not agree more. I don't think he's a pro-style, NFL-ready guy right now. There's been a lot of comps out there of him and Anthony Richardson. I think Lenore Sellers is ahead of Anthony Richardson here his second full season as a starter than AR-15 was at Florida when he got drafted in the first round. But that being said, I mean, we need to see some of the Lenore that we saw during the second half of the 2024 season and not the first 9 or 10 games this fall. We've just seen a guy who's missing on a lot of guys who are open. The deep ball's been there several times in Nick Harbor, and he's hit that. But just too many times on 3rd and 7, Lenoris has failed to have pocket awareness, step up in the pocket, and deliver balls when there have been opportunities there. So I don't blame all of this season's lack of success offensively on Mike Shula, but obviously it's got a lot to do with players executing, and the offensive line has been bad, and so has quarterback play.
Let me ask, we asked this question earlier, and I'll ask the same of you, and we got about 5 minutes left. Is Sean Elliott, in your opinion, and Mike Furrey safe on that offensive staff, or does Shane Beamer basically hire an outsider and say, whatever you want to do, you go with it?
I think Sean Elliott's safe as the full-time O-line coach next year, and as far as Furrey, I think he's going to have to be willing to be demoted behind closed doors for an outside OC hire. I don't think any Gamecock supporter or mega booster bill is going to be happy if a current staffer is promoted to OC. We've seen what that has caused. But
I think he's okay. Don't you think? I mean, he understands. I feel like Mike Furrey, of all people.
Oh, yeah, he's okay.
I think he would understand that better than most.
Sure. And Beamer also knows that, the pool of OC candidates, no matter what you hear publicly, I don't think it's going to be as big as it would have been, last season. Just because that new OC has to know that this could be a one-year rental, a one-year time in Columbia with your family if, your head coach is on one of college football's hottest seats heading into next year.
Well, and it becomes that much more of a challenge finding somebody to fill that role because, as we talked about, there's so many other jobs open. And, well, guess what? When Auburn finds a coach, when LSU finds a coach, Florida finds a coach, they all got to hire OCs. And, sure, those guys may bring their own assistants along. So you're competing with a lot of high-profile jobs that can probably pay those assistants pretty well, too, for whoever you're going to try and bring in here.
Sure, and there's going to be head coaches who were fired this cycle too, offensive-minded guys who might be interested in a one-year scenario. But look, Shane Beamer has his work cut out for him. I mean, I think the number one priority with this hire is going to define his tenure. This will be the fourth OC hire, with Satterfield and Loggins and Shula now. So
technically, it's his fifth. We talked about technically it's his fifth.
Yeah, fifth. Yeah, so, I mean, he has to get this right, and it has to be a guy with successful college play-calling experiences, or no one in Columbia is going to believe it'll work if it's an NFL-type hire.
I got about 2 minutes left with you. We probably won't have you on next week because it's Thanksgiving. I know you like to be with your family and everything. Give me your thoughts on South Carolina Clemson noon game at Williams-Brice Stadium, we now know on the SEC Network.
I think a lot of Gamecock fans are still going to tune into that regardless of, how this season has transpired. I think Clemson gets the bowl eligibility this weekend. They're going to beat their FCS opponent, whoever they're playing. And then I just think
Furman, by the way.
Season, yeah, Furman, yeah. The season's going to feel a lot better if South Carolina wins that home game. Clemson finishes 6-6, and Shane has another win over the Tigers. But if they beat Coastal Carolina, Gamecocks that is, and then lay an egg against Clemson in that finale, 4-8. Man, it's hard to get excited about 2026 if that happens.
That was not the way to wrap up that part. You got something positive you want to say real quick?
Yeah, positive. SEC is going to get 5 teams in the college football playoff.
And not a one of them is South Carolina. Okay, you're not helping. You're not helping.
Hey, men's basketball's undefeated.
There you go. Okay, yeah.
Bill, we knew Carolina wasn't getting in for a while, so I don't know what you were expecting.
He said basketball's undefeated. There he goes. Way to finish out. Buddy, late notice. I texted you this morning. I appreciate you joining us on a late notice, man. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving with the family next week, and we definitely look forward to catching up with you in December as we iron out some of these questions that we'll be having, and do your TV stuff. You look fantastic, and glad to always be able to get you on the program here.
Hey, thanks, man. Praying for you, and you're going to get through this, man. Just keep believing.
I believe it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really do. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We will get into a few other things. James Franklin, we'll get to that when we come back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Oh, the coaching carousel is going to give us so much content. Oh, God, it's going to give us so much content starting.
I mean, it's really already started.
Is it December? Well, I feel like everybody's waiting it out for the final, for that Sunday. I would say November 30th is the Sunday.
Okay.
December 1st is the Monday. And you said it was the
The 3rd is early signing day.
The 3rd. I have a doctor's appointment that day.
So you have to figure it out real quick.
And to go back to this, I don't know, because of the transfer portal, if you have to have a guy in place at that moment. I think you got to be close.
Sure.
It's almost like you have to be close enough where the rumors are leaking out, where recruits are like, oh, because you still have the other signing day.
You do, but most talent is signed by that point in time.
Well, but if you've got your class,
but if somebody's on the fence choosing between you and somewhere else, and you don't have a coach, well, then they might just choose somewhere else.
But remember that. I will say, I'll push back on you a little bit on that, just from the standpoint of you're like, hey, wait till February. We might have a more exciting February signing day.
If it's far enough down the path where you can say with enough certainty, hey, it's probably going to be this guy, then okay.
You know what I just wondered? And I'm going to I have to research this. The rule is if your coach is canned, if your coach is fired, you've got, is it 15 days or 30 days?
30-day window.
30-day window in the portal. Does that apply to signed recruits?
Now,
that's if your coach is fired.
Right.
Not if they don't have a coach and then hire a coach. And I only say that because there might be some people that people want to fire, and they're like, we're going to wait until December 5th.
Yeah.
I don't know if a recruit. Does a recruit get that same?
Well, because I'll
ask.
Once they sign with you, they're officially they're a part of your team.
The new rules we have to do, but all the stuff.
I would say we've not encountered too many of those situations to know at this point in time. So I can't think of an example of when so and so got fired on December 17th, this happened.
Well, we've seen players pull all kinds of.
Sure.
Who was the wide receiver who went to Texas to Southern Cal, or vice versa? It might have been Southern Cal to Texas back, and then he went to Tennessee.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Anyway, but the portal is going. The coaching carousel, and it's not even so much Florida and LSU. It's what happens to the schools that get plucked.
Yes. Yeah, that's the worry there. And again, going back to what Brad was talking about, that if his solution of Lane Kiffin, I think, said going to LSU, if that happens, then okay, Ole Miss, who, by the way, would be in the middle of getting ready for the playoff, possibly, is now figuring out, hey, who's our coach going to be? What are we going to do? And then you also have the situation where, if a lot of players wanted to play for Lane, and they'd obviously play the playoff game still,
right.
But as soon as that's over, they leave. Now you're like, oh, we just lost a fourth of our roster. Now what?
Put that on to talk about, because I want to get to the James Franklin stuff. But I say that because if you're Mississippi, this might be a once-in-a-lifetime chance. You beg him to coach.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah. Going back to the ultimatum, so to speak, is I don't know how much pressure Ole Miss is really putting on Lane Kiffin, because he's done something nobody's ever done there before.
Yeah.
You don't want to make him mad.
Right.
Right? It's a fine balance.
803-404-6100. All right. So, we got one job filled yesterday.
Yes.
Whew. I don't know if it's a good hire. I think it's a good fit. I know that's kind of contradicting myself. I think James Franklin can go to Virginia Tech. The pressure is going to be minimal. He's in an easier conference, less big games to blow. Yesterday, he talked about it. Let's start with this. He was with Pat McAfee. He had talked about being excited for the opportunity at Virginia Tech. Here's James Franklin yesterday joining Pat McAfee.
I want to thank Coach Beamer. As everybody knows, Coach Beamer's the man, and he built this place. And I've asked for the blessings of two people. Sanya Allah, my father-in-law, I called him and asked for his blessing to marry his daughter, Fumi. And then the night before signing the contract, I called Coach Beamer and asked him for his blessing of taking over his program. I was a little concerned because I called him 3 times and he didn't answer the phone. So I called his wife and she said, "I'm sorry, Coach, we didn't have your number." But I was able to get Coach Beamer's blessing, and that means a ton to me. I'm somebody that values the history, the traditions, the legends, and obviously nobody's more important than Virginia Tech football than Frank Beamer.
Okay, that was actually the other clip, but that's him. So let's start with that one. That's him. Okay, you called Shane. You called Frank. You called Frank Beamer.
Yeah.
Didn't call Shane. You called Frank Beamer and you asked for his permission. Ha ha ha! Excellent work. Or, all right, James, just settle down and coach the team.
You're playing the crowd, right? Frank Beamer is the greatest coach that Virginia Tech has ever had. He's got a statue there for a reason. If you can make people right off the jump know that you're good with Coach Beamer is good with you, you buy yourself a lot of good grace. Now, again, he's got a good track record. He's got a good resume. He doesn't need that, but, fluffing up the fan base a little bit doesn't hurt.
Okay. I think he's going to do well. How well is well? College football playoffs?
So Virginia Tech's also committed, or is committing a lot of money, NIL, rev share, to try and make themselves as competitive as possible, because apparently that's been an issue with them for a while. I think he can compete for the ACC. Will he win it? I don't know. Will he go to the playoff? I don't know. Will he win a national championship? I don't know. But I think he can, like he did at Penn State, have that team be consistently good.
Well, I see 8 wins, 9 wins.
Sure.
I see.
But you can win the ACC with 9 wins.
Speaking of which, please go back to putting Virginia Tech on Thursday nights.
Yes, please.
Let's listen real quick. This is also him. Now, this is James Franklin on Pat McAfee talking about being excited. This is clip 24, Dave. This is Franklin on Pat McAfee talking about being excited for the opportunity at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, so I think your question's a great one, and what I would say is, right, it's unique. There hasn't been too many guys that have been a head coach in the SEC, a head coach in the Big Ten, really unusual success at a place like Vanderbilt that hadn't had that type of success before, and then go to Penn State, win a Big Ten championship the first year off of sanctions. The last 3 years, we had more success than anybody in the country, but 4 programs and a few plays away for playing for the national championship. So we're very proud of what we were able to achieve there, and I am forever grateful for that time and experience. So being able to use all those lessons and experiences and now bring it to the ACC. The ACC was my first break at the University of Maryland working for Ralph Friedgen, so I've experienced there. I've been a coach in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers, so just going to take all these experiences that I've been able to have and pour them into my time here at Virginia Tech. So excited about the opportunity. Obviously, we got a ton of work to do. College football's changed. You have the ability to flip your roster a lot faster than when I took over those other 2 programs, and we're excited about the opportunity.
Real quick, when you hear James Franklin speak this offseason, take a shot every time he says a couple plays away from a national championship.
He's gonna
use it, and rightfully so, but he's gonna say it a lot. I can already tell.
Yeah, I mean, and he should. He's, in a way, he has to rejuvenate Virginia Tech football. He's got to get the fan base built up. He's got to do small things like that. We'll come back and wrap up the Thursday program. It's the halftime show. Reminder, busy 72 hours coming up here on the game tonight. Carolina Calls with Shane Beamer and Todd Ellis. 7 o'clock right here from Backstreet's Bar and Grill. Well, you can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game.
It's down the street at Backstreet.
I was going to say, they don't do it in our studio, but you can go over to Backstreet's Bar and Grill and partake in that. Vista Lights also tonight if you're coming through downtown, so be prepared for that. Which I think that starts at 6. So be prepared for that. 8 o'clock tonight following Carolina Calls Thursday Night Football, Buffalo Bills and Houston Texans. Big one for the Bills, as Tyler pointed out. Tomorrow, Tyler and I will do half a show, 12 to 1:30. We got a loaded show. We're going to have Brian Edwards on. We're going to have Chris Deering on. We're going to get to some stuff that Tim Beck talked about. We want to talk basketball tomorrow. It's going to be a fast-paced show tomorrow as we get you ready. And then at 1:30 tomorrow, we'll have the basketball pregame show because if you're not aware, South Carolina and Butler play at 2 o'clock. Might have to go over to Old Village Idiot, have a watch party or something, do some pizza for preemies or something.
Jack is probably somewhere in the early West Virginia mountains right now, getting up there.
Bet it is beautiful. Foliage everywhere.
That's right. Probably cold.
Send him a text and tell him we want foliage pictures. So that's why. And then Saturday, so games at 4:15. So at 11:15.
11. We don't do the quarter hours. We start at the top of the hour.
All right. Where are we at? What are we doing?
Jay's Corner over there, Rosewood and Bluff. 11 o'clock pregame. Myself, Elijah Campbell. Take it right into network pregame coverage. And, kicks at 4:15.
There you go. And just 2 of those left for you.
That's right. Yep.
Which
next week will be very early.
Very early. That's right. Bright and early. All right. So that's the thing. Well, look out, Tyler.
Okay. You were laughing about something.
We got a new football guy.
All right.
We got a football guy alert, guys. Women, ladies. Football guy. He's coming for Pat McAfee.
Okay.
Now, I've seen stuff over the last few weeks, but because he's injured, I've ignored it.
All right.
But Cam Scadaboo is out here just doing stuff.
Yes, he is.
Now, it started, a week ago?
So
Is it 2 weeks ago?
He got hurt now 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago now. It's been a couple weeks because they were playing at Philly when he got hurt.
Week eight.
Yeah, so it's been a few weeks.
So he got hurt.
Yeah.
Serious injury, by the way, done for the season.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Doesn't stop him from wanting to be in the news.
No, it does not.
Hadn't stopped him from wanting to live his life. On Monday, Cam Scadaboo made a appearance on WWE.
Yes, he did. They were at Madison Square Garden in New York, obviously. He got into it with the Judgment Day, a faction of heels. And him and Andrew Schultz, the comedian, who's apparently a big wrestling fan too, they kind of got physical with him.
It's
ringside.
More. This is when I made that noise and you looked at me because look, I get it. This was probably all part of a play. You can go watch the video. I'm on forthewin.com where it talks about it. But he's coming off of this injury.
Yeah.
And if you go watch it, and when I made that noise that you were like, what? And I was like, hold on, I'll tell you when we come back. It ain't like, a light shove.
Sure.
And again, I know that it's made for TV, but it's a little bit like aggressive for a dude who's got still a significant injury that he's recovering from.
Yeah, and again, all this is done very safely. They're professionals. They're not out there to hurt anybody. But when you are a football player that did just get hurt only a handful of weeks ago, if I'm a fan of the Giants, I'm not a fan of seeing him going out and doing any sort of physical confrontation, whether predetermined or not.
And so, to that point, fans have gotten all fired up at Cam Scadaboo. What are you doing? You're injured. You're the future of our organization. You run. We love you. You do everything. And Cam Scadaboo is now becoming that dude.
Yeah, listen, he's going to be popping up in a lot of places, I have a feeling.
He then told them, unfollow me and casually move on if you don't like my life. His actual tweet 2 days ago, AYEI, honestly, if you don't like that I'm having a good time while dealing with a tough time, then just go ahead and unfollow and casually move on. I'm not able to play football and have the fun I've been having my whole life, so I'm doing things outside of the box, trying to find. And And he goes on to say, basically, he's trying to find a good time, trying to relax. Where do I got to pick up on that? He said, enjoy the rest of y'all's week and just don't talk about me if you ain't got nothing to say nice.
Now, here's the thing. He didn't jump the barricade. He stayed on the other side, just kind of stood there. So the movement was limited. I will say that much.
Then, football guy, Cam Scaddigboo, new football guy, this morning, 11:45, on a podcast or something, on a Twitch, took his shirt off and drank an energy drink.
Heck yeah, man. Let's go.
Out of his cleat. He poured it in his cleat and drank it out of his cleat.
Football guy.
Football guy. We're back tomorrow.
It's our Ed here for our friends over at Pro Swing Columbia. 2 locations, one at Forest Acres and one out in Chapin. It is going to get cold here pretty soon, I promise. And when it does, you're not going to want to be out there on the actual golf course. Well, that's where Pro Swing comes in. They've got golf zone simulators that allow you to play indoors in a climate-controlled environment at courses quite literally all